Hello, one and all. Welcome to TrackSpotTV for the special inter-season event for Formula Drivers League. It is the Formula Open. Last time we ran the Formula Open, it was the Super Formulas at Miami, but we are here at the brand new and shiny St. Petersburg street circuit, just added to iRacing in the most recent season build. And what else should we race there but Indy cars? It's going to be a fun time indeed. A 50-minute race ahead of us, drivers in qualifying at the moment. My name is Reese Gardner with George Cook alongside me in the commentary box, also handling production behind the scenes. This is going to be quite the interesting race, George. I'm very interested to see how the drivers handle iRacing's newest track.
Absolutely right. It is a beautiful circuit, I tell you what, and it's a great place to go racing, whether it's real-life motorsport or the sim racing world, of course. Over in Florida, beautiful scenery there, 1 meter of elevation because we're right there on the seaside, and this track actually cuts across an airport as well. That's going to be the main straight. Looking forward to it. I'm going to be juggling the broadcasting just like these drivers are going to be juggling the KERS system on these cars. Makes them very tricky to handle.
Absolutely. Hybrid system recently being added to the IndyCar in iRacing, and for that matter, drivers will also have to worry about tyre strategy as well. There are two tyre compounds in the IndyCar, the primary, which is the harder compound, and the alternate with red sidewalls, the softer compound. They will have to use both tyre compounds in the race. Question is, when do you use it? Obviously, everyone's got the alternates on for qualifying because it provides a bit more grip and a bit more speed, but those alternate tires are going to wear out and overheat a bit quicker than the harder primary tires will. And KERS management is going to be a big part of it. Looking at the FDL Discord, drivers were discussing how best to utilize the KERS system. It is possible to manually recharge the battery, but most drivers have found that they can recharge the battery just fine by harvesting energy by braking and not much else. Other than that, it is manual deployment the whole way through. You press a button, you get the hybrid boost, which is also present as push to pass as well. It's goodness me, this the bumps, the walls around this place. I tried testing for this event. I was considering signing up, but I very quickly found out I wasn't cut out for IndyCar racing. It's very hard to manage the wheel spin in these things. They are darty and they are quite easy to spin out in these tight city streets.
Yeah, I think nimble is the word I might use. Certainly looking at the behavior of the car, the front end loves to swing in, uses all that grip. They've got a huge rear wing as well. So lots of downforce on these cars. You can really throw them around, but it's going to take confidence for the drivers as they come through some of these corners. The walls are right there. We're talking turn 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You've got turn 10 as well. So that's a really fast left-hander. Then you're into a sort of double apex 11 and 12. And then you finally get some reprieve and you get to turn 13. You get to swing around this long right-hander and onto the back straight, and you can deploy as much energy as you want at that point. But you hit that go button at the wrong time, the tires are going to spin, and you're going to find yourself in a world of trouble. It's going to be really interesting. And like I said, that first section through 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9, we are talking 90-degree corners. So one small mistake, and that is going to be it. You're going to be in a wall, and you're going to be going back to the pits. 125 litres of fuel is what they're going to need for the entire race, estimating probably 2 stints about 47 litres long with a short fuel stint around 30 litres. The question's going to be, do you get yourself out of that traffic early on, maybe make an early pit stop and find yourself in some clean air, or do you hold with the pack and take the risk?
That is the question. There is also possibility for intervention with a virtual safety car if there's a big enough incident, and this being a street circuit, I think that is more than likely. If there is an intervention from the VSC, there is potential that drivers will be able to save enough fuel to make it on one stop, but it's going to take quite a bit of work to do that. So I think we should go into this with the expectation that everyone is going to be pitting twice. They will split the race into 3 stints, so I would guess that it's probably going to be 2 stints long on the primary tire and then 1 shorter stint on the alternate. Or maybe drivers will try and flip the script and do 2 stints on the softs and 1 stint on the hard. Regardless, they have to use both tire compounds in the race regardless. You mentioned the turn 4 to turn 9 complex actually cutting through a car park. The track map we have up on screen and up in the top left corner is the section that we're talking about, a counterclockwise lap. And you know, these cars do produce a fair amount of downforce, but I don't think they're going to be getting much of it through that section.
No, they're going to be going a relatively low speed through that section. It's really just the wind up from turn 1, 2, and 3. You're going to take a lot of pace into turn 4. So for the drivers who are just charging the battery on the brakes, that turn 4, which is the furthest top left hand to the right hand corner on that track map, they will be using that as the braking zone to really get some energy. And all through that section, you can go hard on the brakes. So the key is going to be maybe a late braking maneuver. Maybe they want to be holding the brakes a little bit. I'm not 100% sure. We'll see. But you know, if they are taking the late braking risks, they're going to find themselves potentially being taken over on the inside. They might find themselves overshooting the corner. It's going to be a tricky section through that part, but you know, it's a beautiful sweeping section. You see the cars and the camera shots we've got lined up for you through that section. I tell you what, it looks great.
Certainly does. We're about to find out what it's like in full race conditions here. Qualifying is done. Drivers had 10 minutes and 4 laps over those 10 minutes to decide the grid. Sebastian Eskandari, previous champion of the FDL Super Formula Lights Championship, will start on pole position. He's got another former champion, Mark Hilly, alongside him for Orbit Drop Bear Motorsport. Ethan Morris and Stephen Bull are your second row. Tyson Broads come in for Orbit Drop Bear, starting alongside Ryan Bell. Connor Nixon, also from Orbit Drop Bear, starting 7th place, with Hayden Millington alongside. Danny Davison in 9th place from Team Max Boost, and Dan Yeaman, the manager of Orbit Drop Bear Motorsport, rounding out your top 10. Lachlan Burke and Lachlan Capel. It's an all Lachlan lockout for the 6th row, with Dan Ackland and Tom Donahue, the administrator of FDL, starting on row number 7. Alex Zikas and Cameron Dance, 15th and 16th. Our 9th row of the grid being Sam Cullen and Tristan McLaren. Then it's Alex Stevens and Ollie Stevens, rounding out your top 20. In 21st place, it's Michael Scott, got Jace Douglas alongside him. Miguel Costa Texera, M-Class champion in the FDL Super Formula Lights League, starting 23rd alongside Jacob Frazier. Sebastian Prostimo starts 25th alongside Aidan Godfrey. Then it's John Monday and Charles Vasquez on row number 14. Martin Lipsky and Scott Cooper round out your top 30, and then Mackenzie Stewart and Fraser Clegg did not set times in qualifying. Remains to be seen whether or not they will take to the grid. And it's especially interesting to see Fraser Clegg not setting a time in qualifying, because he was one of only a few drivers in practice to get into the 59-second bracket on a lap. That's right, this circuit you can complete in less than a minute.
Yeah, we did see that 1:59.9 from Sebastian Eskandari. I just don't know how this man does it. Over and over again, these lap times are absolutely incredible, and I don't actually see with this length of track how you can actually do this in under 1 minute, but it is just the nature of it, and we're going to be going to the grid immediately.
That we are. Rolling start behind the iRacing pace car. It's about 9:45 in the morning in sim time, which means the track temperature is still pretty cool, and it's a nice air temperature as well. 22 Celsius, exactly how I like it in the real world. Eskandari immediately starting to weave to get some heat into those tires. Now, there's a bit of variance on who's starting on what tire. Our top 2 have elected to start on the primary compound, but Ethan Morris and Stephen Bull on the row behind are starting on the alternate, the softer tire. That means they're going to get their tires up to temperature a little quicker, and they should have a bit more grip through the corners. They'll be right on the attack. Also running the alternate compound, Ryan Bell from P6, Hayden Millington from P8, see Lachlan Burke in 11th, and then McLaren and the 2 Stevens, 18th, 19th, and 20th. Miguel Costa Texeira is also on the softs, as is Sebastian Prostimo, Aidan Godfrey, and John Monday. Martin Lipsky, the last car to take to the start here, as it seems we've lost Scott Cooper as well. Lipsky also starting on the alternate compound. Everyone I didn't mention, that being everyone else in the field, is starting on the primaries. So we've got quite a bit of variance on tyre strategy already.
Yeah, huge variance, and Sebastian Eskandari and Mark Hilly obviously thinking they can get away nicely on the primary tyre. The alternate, though, they're going to be under so much pressure right from the get-go. I mean, it's a fast section through turns 1, 2, and 3 and leading up to 4, and if this alternate tyre gives them any advantage, which it may well do into that first corner, then they're going to be under a real large amount of pressure coming into turn 4. Will they have the grip then to defend into 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, that whole top left section of the map that we showed you earlier? That's going to be where these two drivers, Ethan Morris and Stephen Bull, are going to be making that attack. They're going to want to be making those moves as soon as humanly possible on these top two guys and try and disrupt their race at the top. And the same goes for those who are further down as well. I'll be keeping a very close eye, I think, on Hayden Millington, currently in P8. It's going to be a very interesting start to this race. Turn 1, 2, 3 will tell the tale.
Rounding on to the main runway of Albert Whitted Airport. The start line beckons here at St. Petersburg as the pace car's in the pits and Sebastian Eskandari leads us away. Green flag for the FDL Formula Open at St. Petersburg, and we have 28 Indy cars all piling into the first turn. It's a clean start from Eskandari, but Ethan Morris has already gotten past Mark Hilly for second place. Those soft tyres are switched on immediately for the number 12. Single file on the way out of turn 3, and there's the move for Ethan Morris. Eskandari has to be sent wide there, and there's contact between Eskandari and Hilly. That's going to be a little unfortunate there. Very tight section, awkward in these Indy cars that lumber through these slow corners, but for the most part, it looks like everyone's gotten off to a reasonably clean start. Daniel Ackland and Tom Donoghue have fallen down a few positions, as has Stephen Bull, but for the most part, I'm not seeing anyone gaining that many positions. Ethan Morris, though, absolutely taking point as they go off Dan Weldon Way and into the final corner. Lap 1 is complete, and well, we had to wait until late in lap 1 to see something go wrong. Sebastian Prostimo and Dan Ackland apparently falling down the order.
Yeah, we've got an incident back there. I'm not sure who else is involved. We'll get some replays up in short order. And Morris, what a start. And this is exactly what we were talking about. Turn 4, turn 5, if they get a good run through those first 3 corners, well, they're going to be in the position to make the overtake. And Morris, at the moment, he has absolutely taken massive advantage of that. So Ackland down 15. We'll try and get some replays up in a few moments' time. Morris not building as much of a gap as he maybe wanted to by this point, and the alternate tyre should be giving him at least a few tenths per lap. And so from this point on, I expect that to get well past a second, probably up to 2 or 3 seconds, as essentially Eskandari now being the bottleneck there for Healy. Tyson Broad, who's up 1 position, Nixon up 2 positions, and Ryan Bell, who's gone absolutely nowhere in this race so far.
Yeah, Ryan Bell, Tristan McLaren, and Sebastian Prostimo are the only drivers to still occupy the same positions they started on. Lachlan Capel having a problem. He's fallen way down the order. Looks like it might have been an issue at turn 10. And it appears that Ollie Stevens as well has had some kind of issue too. We see Miguel Costa Texeira and Jace Douglas also with mechanical black flags. This is what happened to Dan Ackland on lap 1. Bit deep there into turn 10. Fortunately, just enough runoff area to collect, and another car having problems there. That might have been Charles Vasquez. Meanwhile, this is what happened to Prostimo, Douglas, and Texeira once again at turn 10. Big lock up there, and oh dear, looks to me like that's either that might be Douglas or Vasquez potentially that had their issue there. Yeah, turn 10 seems to be a favorite place early on to go deep.
Certainly does seem to be. They're obviously trying to extend that braking zone just that little bit. They know that they can sweep through turn 10 to that left-hand side. But, you know, at the end of the day, if they're going to overrun it, I mean, you're going to lose so many positions. We saw that with 3 drivers on that first lap. And luckily for the top guys, they have yet to make that small mistake. And not easy to get these cars turned round either. You can slam on the accelerator, but you might find yourself doing donuts rather than getting back into position. That's a close one there for Ryan Bell, who's putting the pressure now on Broad and Nixon.
Yes, Bell and Bull are the second and third running cars running the alternate compound tyre. Ethan Morris has skipped away to a lead of 2.5 seconds using those tyres to great effect. Now, the other side of the coin here for Bell and Bull is while they might be pacey here early on, they will have to get onto the harder compound tyre at some point. And I think if they're back in the field here, they might want to stay on those softer tires, change to a new set of softs when they take their first stop. That'll give them a bit more pace and potentially give them a chance to rocket past the drivers that are still on the harder compound and maybe just pay it back a little more later on in the final stint. The lap times are looking incredibly good right now. Ethan Morris is running about 0.5 of a second faster than everyone else at present, with the pack starting to compress now for second through to seventh. Seems that Eskandari and Hilly have gotten into a rhythm nicely now. They're managing to switch on those harder tyres. It's taken them a few laps to do it. And now for the drivers on these softer compounds, well, the pace is certainly there, but they are going to overheat those tyres pretty soon if they keep pushing.
Yeah, exactly right. And I do wonder now what kind of fuel totals do they have in the cars. I mean, if you're going to use this alternative early on, you might as well be on the lower amount of fuel, or they might be trying to run long. It's a really difficult one to be able to say. So if we do see some early pit stops, probably around lap 12 to 15, we might be able to infer that they're actually on the lower fuel amount of 30-litre or 40-litre amount initially in this race, and then of course now you've got the harder tire to deal with a larger amount of fuel, so that may not be the combination that they'll be looking for. I think the optimal one will be to run the alternate tire when you've got more fuel in the car and going for a slightly longer stint and use as much of that fuel as possible. But we'll see close enough towards that 12 or 13 lap point, and we are about 5 minutes in, so I'm guessing at the moment that'll be about 15 or 18 minutes through this race. Bull looking a bit racy now and trying to put that pressure on Ryan Bell. I don't know if he's going to make any moves through here. They're both in the same compound of tyre, really able to make up to the primary tyre of Nixon right now, which, as you said before, is just getting better and better.
Yeah, they should be able to maintain a good amount of pace for a bit longer on the primary tyre. There's been trouble for Alex Zekas as well. Mechanical black flag for him. It was an incident at turn 8, and Zekas, unfortunately, had already lost half of his front wing. Charles Vasquez, once again, into the runoff area at turn 11. Far from ideal for him. It's been a rough race so far, but he's been able to keep rolling regardless. Meanwhile, passes further back. There's Godfrey getting by Michael Scott, and just a little touch there on the exit of the final corner, blasting out there. Got to wonder if how many of these drivers are using the hybrid system and the push to pass in these early stages of the race to try and get a gap.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine they would be. You're going to have plenty of battery on board by this point. And certainly if you don't, then you should be looking to get as much as possible, especially when you're on a pack like this. You're going to be wanting to use it because the chances of someone ahead of you or someone behind you going to be pushing that go button to get that overtake or defend the overtake. You kind of just have to, play it line astern, do what the other people are doing. Be a sheep in this situation is not actually a bad thing. So I imagine all of them deploying as much energy as they possibly can, especially with these battles as we see Monday. Oh, whoa, that's a very close one.
Just a wall to greet you on the exit there. But Ollie Stevens able to stay ahead of John Monday for now. Taking advantage there is Aidan Godfrey, who gets up the inside of Monday, but unfortunately the title line doesn't win there. Ollie Stevens making his way into the pits. He had lost a bit of body work, and so no surprise to see he jumps into the pits there. There's also been a change for 5th place just now. Ryan Bell has found his way past Connor Nixon.
Wow, okay, so we thought that this primary tyre was sort of getting to that nice activation point and they were going to keep this gap, but by the looks of it, that is maybe not going to be the case. And there you go, you can see the alternate tyre doing some work against the primary tyre, and you can see that Nixon now going to be under a lot of pressure from Bell as well. So I do wonder if maybe there's a point that the primary tyre has reached as well. not in terms of degradation, but maybe just in terms of temperature and keeping it within the window.
Problem for Lachlan Burke. The 088 is falling down the order. Not entirely sure why, but it will certainly be an option for a replay a bit later. Meanwhile, the battle for second place is really heating up. Mark Hilly on the back of Sebastian Eskandari. Two FDL champions battling it out for the runner-up position, and it seems like Hilly's just cutting a little bit closer to the wall at the apex of turn 9. Turn 10 completely flat out in these cars, but it's a mighty scary ride, let me tell you. Eskandari a little bit deep there in turn 11, just avoids getting into the wall too hard. But Hilly sees that and he smells blood. Let's see what happens into the final corner. No move to be made. Eskandari slightly defensive, but Hilly is absolutely ragging it on these straights. He's managing to keep up very well as Nixon loses another position to Stephen Bull.
Oh, and I think something else has happened there. It looks like he's had a bit of a mistake because he's going to lose another position. Davison comes on through now for Max Boost as well. All primary tyres at this point. Is it going to be a bit of a challenge back for Nixon? He holds it around the outside. That'll rapidly become the inside, but does he have enough room? He is, but he's got to ride that really nasty sausage curb, which launches the car. No grip. Davison takes the place.
Tell you what, turn 3, in fact, the run between turns 2 and 3 is one of the most difficult parts of this circuit because it sort of follows an S shape, but you're darting between those half apexes on the walls. There is no room to run side by side through there. So if you're going to be making a move in the opening turns, you better make sure that you've cleared the car you're trying to pass by the time you exit turn 1. The battle is going to continue, and I've just seen Eskandari run deep at the final hairpin. It looks like this might be the chance that Mark Hilly needs. No! Hilly slowing down out of nowhere there. I think Eskandari might have responded with a bit of extra deployment.
I think he hit that go button. Yeah, the car just started to go, didn't it? It just started pulling a massive gap. Nothing Hilly could do there. Couldn't take advantage of the situation. Was obviously caught up with Eskandari making that mistake and was late on the throttle on the exit of turn 14. So a bit of tactical usage there of the go button by Sebastian Eskandari to get himself out of what was becoming a little bit of a dilemma. Hilly's going to have to work hard now to rebuild the pressure that he had on not one lap ago.
Tyre update, Stephen Bull has jumped into the pits after 10 laps on the alternates and he's switched to the primaries. Lachlan Capel, having gotten repairs done, has stayed on the primaries. Ollie Stevens switching to the primary from the alternates. Lachlan Burke staying on the alternate tyres, pitting just a lap or so ago. Miguel Costa Texera, with his early problems, has switched to the primaries after starting on the alternates, and it makes sense. If you have problems early on and you started on those softer tires, get the hards on and run long.
Yep, exactly right, and that means that you can manage your race a little bit. And I was talking about this before the race began, you know, trying to get that clean air, look for a position within the field where you can get out there and really just run some laps and get as close to managing the tire life as humanly possible on a track like this. And we have our first call by the stewards in Car 41 Racing Rules, loss of control. That's a 5-second penalty for the number 41 car. So I'm looking down my list. That is going to be Bull.
Yeah, Stephen Bull with the first penalty of the event. And so that will be 5 seconds added to his race time at the end. I just saw a problem for John Monday as well out of the final corner. He had a spin as there's a pass here happening right now. Stephen Bull trying to make the move on Martin Lipsky, and also trying to sneak through there. Was actually, I think that might be Lipsky on Ackland. I'm not entirely sure. Maybe a lapped car involved in all of that. It's honestly hard to tell where everyone is at the moment. The track is so packed.
Yeah, there's a lot of little battles going on at the moment, and we do have... Oh, just for a moment there, I saw Eskandari and Hilly. Their names started to show up in red as well. I was going, oh no, what's gone on at the top of the grid? And this is the dilemma for the cameraman. Where do they point the camera, and what do they point it at? Because we do have Sikaz down in P28. He's in a battle. We've got Stephen Bull and Lipsky and Monday up here. We've got Tom Donahoe, who's closing in on the car ahead at the moment. He might be within shooting distance at some point very soon, sporting a rather lovely rear wing of orange, which I do absolutely love. Well done, Tom. Good stuff. And Sam Cullen as well in P9. This battle has not cooled down at all.
Yeah, Cullen is losing time to Davison and Nixon ahead, but he's starting to come under pressure from Cameron Dance. Orbit Drop Bear Motorsport are fans of the IndyCar. Dan Yeaman, through his Aussie Online Gaming outfit, running the Fixed Indy Australia series, which has usually been the foremost IndyCar series in our sphere of the sim racing world. So they're definitely familiar with this car, and they've come out in force today. Connor Nixon, though, has decided to jump into the pits there after 12 laps on the primary tyres, and I'm sure that he'll switch to the alternates potentially. Either that or he's going to go for the hards again. Meanwhile, riding on board with Mark Hilly as he continues to chase Sebastian Eskandari for the second running spot. The lead for Ethan Morris has jetted out to 7.5 seconds as Eskandari runs deep again at turn 11.
Wow. Turn 10 is becoming a real headache for nearly everyone, and they're not getting it right at all. Another chance for Hilly, but he's going to have to apply some power. He's going to have to deploy some energy if he's going to really make any advance on Eskandari, who I think there's just a little indication that he might be on that go button once again, with that flowing section between 10, 11, 12. Very high speed section, very difficult to get it right, and especially considering turn 10. We've seen drivers in the runoff, we've seen drivers scraping the wall. What's going to be next? And big accident is what's next.
Well, that's big. Connor Nixon, one of the cars involved in that. Looks like he didn't switch the alternates on properly on his way out of the pits. Miguel Costa Texera also involved somehow. He's found his way into the pits, and we see a bunch of drivers: Hayden Millington, Tristan McLaren, Stevens, Donahue, Bull, Godfrey, Scott, Fraser, and Ackland. The midfield is alight as they all come into pit lane in response to this incident, possibly anticipating a virtual safety car. This is Connor Nixon's pit exit, and of course, tire warmers aren't used in IndyCar. Oh my God, it was contact!
It was, and I'm not sure who that was with, but it's been a massive, massive contact on exit, and of course the cars sweep through turn 2 and right across the exit for the pit lane, and looks like, unfortunately, the timing was absolutely the worst. He had 2 cars coming through turn 2 as he was trying to rejoin the track. I mean, call it unlucky, but that, unfortunately, has caused a massive 3-car incident.
Yeah, it was Jace Douglas who got into Nixon, and Douglas was already a lap down. Yeah, that's the downside of the pit exit at this circuit, isn't it? You spat out onto the exit line from turn 2, and we'll get the onboard from Jason Douglas here as looks like a couple other cars got involved on their way through too. Oh man, that is really rough. But pit stops happening for everybody now. Everyone has come into the pits in response to this. I'm wondering if it actually looks like a virtual safety car has been called.
Yes, it has.
It's so VSC rules in effect now, and that results in a flipping of the script when it comes to tires at the top of the field. Ethan Morris has switched to the primaries. Eskandari has switched to the alternates. Mark Hilly, though, a bit of a longer pit stop than he would have liked. He's lost 2 positions, actually. Tyson Broad and Ryan Bell now rounding out the top 4.
Wow, okay, this is an interesting switch up. So Eskandari, technically speaking, in the same place, but he's going to be on this alternate tire, which is going to really launch him at the start. Morris is going to be wondering, oh dear, that 7-second gap that I built. So much for strategy A. I hope he's got strategy B in his sleeve somewhere, because he's going to need it. Broadbell and then Hilly. So Hilly is the real one who's lost number of positions as a result of this. I don't know if he just had a longer pit stop or whether he's fallen back as a result of or something else that's going on, but certainly, here we go, there's going to be a few unlapping, so that's going to explain a couple of the orders that we're seeing, but for Hilly, he's got a lot of work to do now.
Plenty of work. His pit stop was nearly 14 seconds. Pit stops for everyone else in the top 10 ranging from about 8 to 9 seconds. This is Connor Nixon's view of the incident he had that brought out the VSC. You'll see that he blends to the left just a little bit, but he has no idea that Jason Douglas is there. You know, you can look at your F3 black box all you like. Jace Douglas probably would have had the same odd occurrence here, because look at that. He can't see Nixon. He just comes in out of nowhere. You know, that's a big lesson for everyone, I think, and anyone watching this broadcast who's going to be running a race at St. Petersburg with a pit stop. Be careful on pit exit and be aware of cars exiting onto the racing line.
Certainly right, and especially if you're coming through turn 1 into turn 2, you know you're going to be launching out to the right-hand side through turn 2, and that's exactly where cars are going to rejoin. There is a big barrier right there that is obscuring your view of who is coming out. So whether your engineers are going to have to be working double time every time you're going through turn 2, or whether you've got another means of detecting whether or not a car is going to be there, because if you don't, you're going to find yourself in a similar situation where neither car knew the other one was there, and before they knew it, they were into each other and there was a pile-up. That is a scary, scary pit lane entry. It's sort of I mean, I've got a list. I've got a list of pit exits and pit entries that I don't like. That is now officially on the list.
Absolutely, and that right there is the reason why drivers in the real world have spotters telling them who they're going to be up against on pit exit. I think that'll be a lesson to carry forward as well. Well, virtual safety car is still on, but drivers are weaving. Wave rounds have been completed, and it looks like we're going to be going green at the end of this lap. That was the start-finish line right there that Ethan Morris just crossed. 30 minutes to go in the race, and I'll tell you what, the VSC, or the incident that brought out the VSC, came at an opportune time, because the starting fuel in these cars, 47.5 litres, which according to Tom Donahue gives them about 19 minutes of fuel at full chat. The incident happened at about 18 minutes into the race. So basically the first stint ran as we expected. So now they're going to have potentially 2 15-minute stints here, or I mean, at least drivers that are on the alternate at the moment will probably want to stay on it as long as they can now. There's so much variance on the strategy here. You've got 30 minutes to go. You've got a fuel tank that'll last you about 20 minutes. So latest anyone's going to pit is with 10 minutes to go, right? I would wager that drivers that have switched to the primaries on this stop from the alternates are going to be switching back to the alternates at their next stop.
Yeah, I suspect so. Although I have to admit, I am no good at sim racing. I'm going to admit it to everyone in the planet right now. I'm not a good sim racing. Strategy is one of the things I'm worse at. But my brain is telling me to get that clean air, Eskandari might be wanting to do a 10-minute stint on this one. Do a short stint, get back at the pits, get into a decent place, and then run. Not worrying about Hilly, not worrying about Morris. Morris has got a real chance off the line here, and it's over to him.
Oh, there's a little bit of a check-up at the front, though. Eskandari had to dart out of the way, and they're going to go 3 wide for third on the way into turn 1 here at the start of lap 19. Tyson Broad around the outside of Eskandari, switching on those alternate compound tyres, but he spins, and that's going to force a check-up for Ryan Bell as everyone clatters in, drivers into the wall, a chaotic restart. Broad is rolling. He will be able to get it flicked around, so we'll avoid another VSC, but more than a few cars carrying some damage from that.
Oh gosh, yeah, it wasn't Hilly. I did yell out Hilly's name, but it was indeed Broad, and it looks like he did make some contact with the car next to him, and that's what caused the spin. Just suddenly the rear end didn't want to have a piece of it, and cold tires on a restart, that's what's going to happen. And we said it already before, turn 1, 2, 3, not the place to be going side by side, but they were 3 wide into turn 1 with that restart. Morris has somehow held on and put a second between him and Eskandari.
Big problems for Lachlan Capel, Jacob Frazier, John Monday, and Miguel Costa Texera. They all get rolling, and it would appear that Capel has not only lost his rear wing, but it seems the rear right is no longer attached to the car. Hayden Millington and Aidan Godfrey responding to what I presume is damage they picked up from hitting the wall or Tyson Broad, and jumping back into the pits. Everyone has satisfied the requirement to use both tire compounds now, so I wouldn't be surprised if everyone goes soft tire only to the end.
Yep, I think that's absolutely right. And this has been an interesting little battle there. A little bit of a bumping of the front wings between, I believe that was Scott and Stevens. So we're just currently looking at Tristan McLaren, who's on the primary tyre behind him. Scott on the alternatives and trying to make his way through this field. He's going to have at least, one more car to get to Tom Donahoe and, of course, Cameron Dance, who's sitting there now on the alternative tyre. Yeah, if you've satisfied the requirement, why not? Run that alternative tyre, run the faster tyre. You might as well.
Yes, in a longer race, you'd probably be thinking about switching back to the primary at some point, but with this being a comparatively short race by IndyCar standards, as Dan Ackland has a big old oversteer moment out of the final corner, I don't think it makes sense to switch back to the primary. Oh no, another car with problems. I think that might be Jacob Fraser, who's stopped there on the back straight. Not entirely sure, but that's going to potentially be another VSC called from that. Regardless, the drivers are going to race until that is called, if it is indeed called. A little bit more spacing out now between our competitors. Our top three have broken away from the rest of the field. And Ethan Morris has managed to maintain that lead beautifully. Not only is he strong on those softer alternates, it seems the hard primaries are his kind of tire as well.
Certainly seems to be. I mean, he's pulled a really nice gap. He might be deploying the energy early. Eskandari might be trying to recover as much as possible and look after those softs. This might be an indication that he's going for that 20-minute stint. As we see, Mark Hilly set a 1 minute .468. So he is flying right now. And Eskandari, if Eskandari's saving, well, he's going to have Mark Hilly to say hello to him very, very soon. Half a second only between them. And it was Jacob Fraser. Indeed, I think we're going to have a replay of this on the exit of the pit lane. We'll see exactly what's happened to him because he's had multiple crashes now. I think he's been scraping across the wall. Is it a self-induced mistake? It is, whoa. And that's a very strange mistake. I was going to say there's no cars around.
Over the bump. Obviously, this is a public road circuit, so there's a lot of very harsh bumps that they go over, particularly on the exit of turn 3. Just seemed like the rears spun up. They were still very cold and lost grip quite quickly. So, yeah, Jacob Fraser, unfortunately, was a complete passenger in that one. Not much he could have done about that, short of getting on the power a little bit later. Meanwhile, we'll check in with Dan Ackland, who's been trying to recover, and he's going to make up another position here at the final turn, as long as he doesn't go too deep, parks it on the apex and keeps Sebastian Prostimo behind him. Prostimo, one of many cars in the field that have made up 9 positions. It would appear we have a 4-way tie for hard charger.
Yeah, we do, certainly. And that was a beautiful move by Dan Ackland. I mean, you can do this at turn 10 as long as you've got the gap behind the competitor in front. You know, if you're right against the bumper, you can't do a move like that. But if you've got a little bit of space, you can go in a little bit slow and then swing around to the outside right-hand side and then slam in the brakes. And I did mean actually turn 11 and 12. There's just enough gap there to swing in. And then turn 13, that final corner, you can launch it up the inside line. It's a great place to overtake, and that was well done by Ackland. Ahead of them, Stevens and McLaren going for it, and behind them, a 4-way pack. This mid-pack is absolutely wild at the moment.
Yeah, Prostimo, Zekas, Lachlan Burke and Tyson Broad all in a line here. And Zekas, Burke and Broad all suffered damage earlier on in the race and have been trying their best to make a recovery from here. They'll have a bit more work to do to get it done. But an interesting division of tyres here. You can see Tyson Broad is on the alternate tyre, the softer compound with the red sidewall. Alex Zekas, the car ahead of him, is also on the same tyre, but Prostimo and Burke are running on the primaries. You see the wheel work as he rides over the bumps and really tries his best not to run into the wall there. Oh, that's a big move, and that's going to be Prostimo deep at turn 4, and Broad makes contact with Lachlan Burke side by side through 6 and 7, 2 to turn 8, and there's going to be no chance for Broad to get past there. There's absolutely no runoff to speak of at that part of the circuit, as we have a penalty coming in for car number 12. That is Ethan Morris for safety car procedure, a 10-second penalty for our race leader.
Wow, I have no idea what he's done there to break the rules. I mean, we'll double check and see if we can get an answer on that one, but for whatever reason, he is infringed upon the safety car procedure. He is fallen afoul of stewards, and that is going to be a massive shake-up at the top of the grid. Eskandari now essentially in the box seat for this one.
Yeah, unless Ethan Morris decides to pit early, switch back to the alternates, and try his hardest to try and build a potential gap for when Eskandari and Hilly come in for their final pit stop. This has really tossed up the strategy for this race, and it looks like our leaders are starting to encounter some lap traffic. John Monday and Connor Nixon up ahead of Ethan Morris as he approaches the final corner. There'll be a little bit of slipstream that he can deal with here, or not. Jumping straight out of the way is John Monday, but Eskandari and Hilly are going to take that slipstream no problem.
Yeah, they wanted a piece of that one. They saw a slow car. They went, oh, you know what? It's still putting a gap in the air ahead, and that's going to help us to close up this gap. And I'm not sure if they've got notification. I'm sure their engineers would have been looking at the steward's reports and noticed now that Morris has got that potential penalty coming his way. I'm not sure exactly what severity level the penalty is going to be. We'll probably have that confirmed in the next few minutes.
It's a 10-second time penalty.
It's a 10-second time penalty. So you're right. His only option is to pit early and try and run long, get that clean air and go.
Yeah, exactly. But the problem is, right after that VSC, the field is still very compressed. So there's every chance that Morris would encounter traffic. The clearest area he has is where he is, up at the front. But what can he do versus Eskandari and Hilly, who are running the softer compound and slightly more lap time potential? Mark Hilly holds the fastest lap of the race, and he was the fastest car on track last time by. This time, Ethan Morris running a 101.3, a 101.9 for Eskandari, and Hilly setting a 102.2. The first car to take their second stop, meanwhile, is Stephen Bull, who pitted from in the back half of the top 10, and actually it looks like he's got a mechanical black flag, so tyre change is not the only reason he's in.
Yeah, exactly. And he's done what we suspected might be done by Eskandari and Hilly, the 10-minute middle stint. Keep it short and keep it... I was trying to make a Lord of the Rings reference there, but unfortunately I managed to muck that one up. But he's going to keep it short, and this time going to go into the pit. Worth it. If you've got that damage, no point staying out there. You're just going to lose time hand over fist. I think Morris, the only thing he can do right now is he's on the right tyre to really push. You know, he doesn't have to worry about the tyre life. He might be thinking about extending all the way to the end, in which case he can use the alternative tyre again for that last 10-minute stint and be really, really quick, hopefully on low fuel. So right now, he needs to use that primary tyre, use every bit of rubber on that tyre to go as quickly as possible. Right now, he is gapping by 0.4 of a second, both Eskandari and Hilly. That's the kind of pace he's going to need. I mean, he needs to build essentially a 10-second gap, and he's got about 10 minutes to do it before the next round of pit stops.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult to do unless there's a coming together between Eskandari and Hilly. I'm frankly amazed that Ethan Morris has been able to extract that kind of pace out of the primaries. I wasn't expecting that tie to be that quick as, up the inside goes Cameron Dance on Sam Cullen. What a move. And amazing that he made that move cleanly. You can always count on Cameron Dance to make big moves in the race. He's not always the best qualifier, but his racecraft is supreme, and he's not afraid to dive up the inside at a moment's notice. Obviously, Sam Cullen saw him coming and left him room, but regardless, at a street circuit, having that kind of pass without a major crash is worth talking about.
Opportunism at its finest when the execution is there, and the execution was there for Cameron Dance. Stunning reaction to the moment, and a brief 0.001 moment where he knew he could launch it and still be safe. We've got 5-second penalty for cars 72. Racing rules, loss of control. Stevens.
Ollie Stevens, yeah.
Ollie Stevens, yeah. First penalty I think he's had this race so far.
Yes, but far from the first time he's had to come into pit lane. It's been a really rough one for Ollie Stevens, as it has been for pretty much everyone outside the top 20 at this point. Sam Cullen has taken his final pit stop. He has switched back to the softs. So now we'll keep our eyes peeled on Cameron Dance to see if he can make it 10 places up from where he started on the grid, on the back of Ryan Bell, who's running the primaries at the moment. Is there going to be a move at turn 11? Not quite, too far back to get it done, but bumps into the gearbox of the number 075. So Dance is obviously really rounding him up under brakes. That car is rotating all right, but probably... Oh, okay, there we go. That's going to be pit entry there for Dance. He obviously is losing a bit too much time there behind Bell. He's going to try and consolidate to the end with 17 minutes to go.
Yeah, makes sense. I mean, he's used that tyre really, really effectively, has Cameron Dance. Now he'll be able to go back potentially onto the primary. We'll see. Here's another move going on right now, and oh, that was easy as you like.
Ollie Stevens on Martin Lipsky. That was for P18, I imagine. Ollie very fresh out of the pit lane, but of course still with a penalty to his name. Race controls decided that for Connor Nixon, potentially for his pit exit, a post-race review is required. So obviously race administrators are going to have to learn a few lessons about the nature of St. Petersburg as well.
Yeah, well, I think that's fair. You can't really apply a penalty when you don't really know who's in the wrong. And we saw on the replay, we went on board both cars. Neither of them knew that they were there. So really it comes down to what extra information are you getting outside of the game via an engineer or via a tool that you can be informed that there's a car there. And if neither of them know, I mean, as much as I'd like to say it's one or the other's fault, it may well be considered a racing incident at a track like this.
Yeah, I would be inclined to agree. Michael Scott jumps into the pits now from the back half of the top 10. I would imagine he's going to stay on the alternates. But Sebastian Eskandari and Mark Hilly, they're not thinking about that. They're thinking about the battle they're having with each other right now. Both on the alternate tyres, both trying to preserve as much pace as they can. This part of the circuit is where Sebastian Eskandari is weakest. He was forced narrow by Hilly, and Mark is going to get a fantastic run out down Dan Weldon Way. But there's nothing he can do to make a move into the final corner. Eskandari covering him beautifully. Now I gotta wonder, how long are these guys going to last before they have to come into the pits again?
Oh, we've got at least 5 more minutes, surely. Eskandari just put in the car exactly where it needs to be. Now Hilly's got a chance. He must have used the go button. Yes, he has, and there's the overtake into turn 1. He's held onto it beautifully. Eskandari might have a chance back towards turn 4, so Hilly will likely need to be defensive into this corner. Little bit of a lack of traction, it looks like, for Eskandari on that turn 2. So he lost a bit of time and no opportunity at all for him to attack back on Hilly. So a big shake-up now. At long last, Hilly has made the move.
Yes, very well done. Took a long time to get Sebastian Eskandari unsettled, but he managed to do it. And if anything, I think Eskandari might have recognized very early that Hilly was going for it and just let him go. Maybe he's going to try something different on strategy at the final pit stop to get the position back. Clattering over the curbs is Miguel Costa Texeira, who's found his way up into 12th. An incredible run up through the field from he and Alex Stevens, both up 11 positions apiece. Tristan McLaren and Cameron Dance coming together. Dance is sent wide, and that's going to be Texeira through.
Wow, this is the squabble as I've ever seen one before. Wow, into the wall,
no.
Texeira, and he's lost the positions. Has that buckled the suspension? I think it was a pretty tough hit, but the car looks okay. The front wing. It has indeed, so his downforce is going to be absolutely gone now. In fact, Cameron Dance missing his left front wing, and we've got Texeira missing the front half of his right rear wing, front wing. So both of them having a real problem. And oh, Cameron Dance didn't have the grip, ran it over the sausage curbs. Inside line for him against Broad, and he's going to pit immediately. He's only pitted a lap and a half ago.
Yeah, and the pit stop before this was his second. So Cameron's been forced into the pits a third time in this race without another VSC intervention. I think that's going to be no chance of Dance getting back into the top 10. Keeping an eye on Sam Cullen, meanwhile, who's 4 laps into his final stint here on the alternate tyres. He's got Tristan McLaren behind, who spent 18 laps on his primaries. McLaren has really taken advantage of the comings together ahead of him, hasn't he? He was right there with the contact between Texeira and Dance, and was able to find a way through all of that. Ollie Stevens, meanwhile, with another mechanical black flag. He's going to jump into pit lane, I am sure, but it looks like he's had a spin by himself somewhere out on circuit. Oh God, there's chaos going on all throughout this field, no matter where you look.
Exactly right. It's just one thing after another, and we do have a replay of Ollie Stevens. So let's have a look. Oh dear. Oh dearie me. Yes. So he's had a problem a little bit earlier on, and that tyre seems to be okay, and then suddenly not okay. He's pulled over and stopped the car and actually reset to pit. So I think we understand why he's done that. So Ollie Stevens will be falling back massively. Meatball flag for him, and also a note here that Alex Stevens. So Stevens and Stevens starting on the grid together, and we had Lachlan and Lachlan starting on the grid together. Well, the other Stevens here Alex Stevens, he is the biggest gainer so far in this race. The number 95 car up 11 positions. He's got Broad right behind him. So this is going to be a challenge for him to hold on to things. And we have a flurry of pit activity. It is time.
Yes, the leaders are in. Ethan Morris is going to switch back to the alternates, I would imagine. A fantastic stint on the primaries, but we'll see who wins the race out of pit road. 8.5 seconds stop for Ethan Morris. He's going to retake the lead there. Eskandari and Hilly jumping back out. They both got slightly faster pit stops than Morris. Hilly almost comes out ahead. Oh my God, Mark Hilly! The same thing that happened to Connor Nixon on his way out of pit lane. What on earth? Another VSC called, I think.
Oh, it's gotta be. I mean, that's another incident. I'm not sure who he has ended up coming together with. But yeah, I think might have been Prostimo, potentially. We'll keep an eye. We'll go back and check, but there's another car that we saw beforehand off to the right-hand side, and that makes 2 cars on the grid that are having major problems. Jay Douglas has got a meatball flag. Ollie Stevens was the one who finished before, and Prostimo, I think it must have been Prostimo, but
yeah,
it's the same exact thing. It's the same exact thing, Reese.
Yeah, the second time that we've managed to catch that happening in this race, and I think another lesson to learn about this pit exit. Have a look at this, by the way. Hilly and Eskandari side by side on the exit. Hilly had to give room to Eskandari, but he immediately goes to the left there to try and open up turn 3, only for Prostimo to appear out of nowhere.
Wow, gosh. I mean, you can't see it coming. I mean, I know that the drivers will potentially have a slightly wider view than the gyro cam that we've got inside the cockpit, but in terms of that, it still looks very, very blind, and we'll get an idea of what that looks like from Prostimo's point of view as well, because this will be an interesting one. So he comes through turn 1, here's turn 2, still can't see the cars, and then they're into him. I mean,
yeah,
you get no warning
at all.
No.
Oh,
I mean,
boy.
I'm flabbergasted. I really am. And for Hilly, this is a disaster. Fighting potentially for P1 or P2 in this race, and now finds himself in the pits again. We haven't had the official call for VSC, but the cars are trundling around rather slowly at the moment. So I imagine it is a VSC, and the stewards just haven't clicked the button that they need to enable the yellow flag in there. So that's just an FYI. But since Eskandari, I think, was really lucky to get out of that without any major damage to the car, because it could have easily been collected by Hilly or Prostimo.
Yeah, I wonder if you can, George. Maybe we can get a view of Eskandari's perspective of that incident, because it did happen right in front of him, and there was an element of chaos to that. Here we go. Eskandari jumping out of pit lane, and there's Hilly alongside. Very close to hitting the wall on the right-hand side, and then boom, right there. Eskandari, absolutely fantastic reaction time. He jumped on the brakes immediately. That's like drag racing level reflexes there.
Yeah. To me, that actually looked like he was told that there's a car coming through turn 2. I think he might have his engineers in his ear on that one, or he's seen it on whatever telemetry he's got available. But it looked like he almost had a premonition that something was going to happen, and he started to back out, and then as soon as it did happen, the lightning reflexes kicked in, and he hit the brakes and got right out of it. And Hilly was already through in the middle of the track, and Prostimo had absolutely nowhere to go. And I can't call that blame on either one of them. Hilly's fighting to get into P2, which, if there hadn't been a car there, would have been an absolutely brilliant move from Hilly, and they would have been side by side. He would have had the outside into turn 4 and potentially the overtake into P2 on fresh tires. So Hilly's got to go for it in that situation, but he's not backed out like Eskandari had done, and so he's ended up in the middle of the track, and Prostimo's come by, and they're already doing 200 kilometers an hour at that point.
Yeah, at those kinds of speeds in these cars, yeah, something happens right in front of you or right alongside you. You have no time to react. VSC is going to be ending this lap. So now they're back onto the tire heat up phase. So this is how things stand in the top 8 at the moment. They are all on the same tires of the same age. They all pitted for alternates there. Dan Yeaman has found his way into P3 in the midst of all of this. We haven't given Mr. Yeaman much airtime in this one because of just all of the chaos going on around the field, but it's been a consistent drive from Yeaman to make up those 7 positions that he's made. Danny Davison having a good second stint of the race as well. The alternates treated him very well. He's up 5 spots now into P4. Alex Stevens in 7th spot, 12 places gained for the number 95, and Tyson Broad 3 positions down in P8. From there back, Michael Scott, who pitted 4 laps before the VSC came out, he's found his way into 9th. Sam Cullen rounding out your top 10. Hayden Millington did pit just before the VSC, but interestingly, he's decided not to go for the alternates. He stayed on the primaries. I don't know exactly why, but regardless, we'll see how he can manage in the final 6.5 minutes of this event. Coming round the final corner to the start, Ethan Morris is going to round up the speed here and powering out. Ooh, he's going to make him wait a little bit. Eskandari is right on it as the green flag flies again here. 6 minutes to go, round about 7 laps and change. Eskandari immediately trying to put the pressure on our race leader, who still has that 10-second time penalty hanging over his head. Eskandari can get into the lead as much as he likes, but it's not going to change anything whether or not he finishes in front of or behind Morris. It's going to be a big squeeze between our leaders, though. Oh, that's a lot of curb there, and Ethan Morris is sent around. Eskandari bumped wide, and Dan Yeaman goes to the lead.
Wow, what a shake-up. Yeaman, he's the 3rd in a row, and he's managed to take the top spot. That is basically the seas parting around him, and it looked like we had Morris try to hold that inside line. Eskandari trying to come round him in turn 5. They made a little bit of contact, and with Morris on that inside line, I mean, he got bumped essentially by the curb, and suddenly it was all over. He spun. Eskandari got a little bit sideways. Luckily for him, he's still there within 4/10 of Yeaman. Still a chance for a win for Eskandari, but for Morris, I mean, look, he's way down the field now. He's in P8.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised he didn't lose more positions out of that, frankly. Mark Hilly has not made any moves forward. Meanwhile, he's found himself down in P17 after his incident that brought out the VSC. Makes up a place on Miguel Costa Texera as the lead is on again. Dan Yeaman having to drive in his rearview mirrors at the moment as Sebastian Eskandari is all over the back of him, and his teammate Danny Davison is going to try and help him out.
Wow. So Max Boost potentially staring down another double podium finish at the moment. They've got Ryan Bellum there as well, bear in mind. So it's definitely going to be an interesting situation. I don't know what this podium is going to look like, because literally anything can happen at this stage. And does Yeaman have the pace now to hold on? I don't know if there's any damage to Sebastian Eskandari's car. He's going to have a look around the inside, and Yeaman's going to have to give him space.
Wow. Look at that! Round the outside, Dan Yeaman once again defending the lead from Eskandari. Almost leaving a pair of tire tracks coming out of that final corner. Incredible power from these cars, especially with the hybrid system activated. Yeaman slightly offline coming into turn 3, though. This might be the chance Eskandari needs. Yeaman's going to go defensive, but is he too tight and too deep? He is. He goes sailing into the runoff area. Yeaman loses the lead. It's max boost 1 and 2 for Eskandari and Davison.
Oh, that can happen so easily. He went defensive into that turn 4 complex. Lucky for him, there is runoff, but he's locked the tires. He set the car straight forward. And Eskandari, I mean, that's the easiest overtake he's had all night, unfortunately. And Yeaman, what a chance that he had. You can see the damage that does to your race. Down in P13 now. Morris is up 1 position from where he was, and now Bell having a go on Danny Davison. He's got the outside line, but Davison is able to get back. And through the final corner, he is now still ahead. Oh, dear, oh, dear. We knew this was going to be spicy at the end. This is very spicy extra hot.
Absolutely is. And, well, with about 3 minutes and 7 seconds or so when Eskandari crossed the line, I think there's 4 laps to go in this one, so we might end up getting an extra lap from what we expected. Eskandari's just sailing away here, and Danny Davison involved with Ryan Bell, squeezed through turn 4 and out through turn 5. Bell gets the better exit round the outside. He takes P2. two, up 4 places now. Orbit Drop Bear have lost 1 car in Yemen from this battle, but Tyson Broad is going to fly the flag for them now. Let's see if he can get onto the podium with Davison apparently a bit off kilter. Side by side behind between Morris and Stevens. Ethan Morris making up a place.
Wow, yeah, Morris is on a charge. He's got the fastest lap. He's done qualifying lap time. In fact, he's faster than qualifying at the 59.98. This man knows that he's got the pace. He's going for it now. Pedal to the metal and see what he can achieve in the last few laps of this race. And Ryan Bell overtake, I almost had a flashback to what happened with Morris, but luckily they gave each other enough space and they was able to make the overtake. So Ryan Bell doing wonderfully good there. Let's take a look at the replay and what changed the lead so dramatically in this race.
Yeah, just hit the end of the curb there in turn 5, did Ethan Morris, and fortunately there was just enough of a gap that he was able to get rolling and not lose too many places. He ended up back in P8 and gradually made his way up to 7th and 6th. There's moves going on outside the top 7 at the moment. It looks like Dan Ackland has passed Tristan McLaren, and Dan Yeaman is battling with Aidan Godfrey right now, side by side. Tristan McLaren trying to make his way past here, but Aidan Godfrey is making it very hard for him. Yeaman has to find some kind of gap there. He had a little look, and it's going to be narrow for Aidan Godfrey, but nothing that Dan Yeaman can do. He remains stuck down in P11. Alex Zekas has towed back to pit lane. There's been a problem for the 055, and I would imagine it might be a problem at turn 10, turn 11. Not ideal at all. But the final lap, it appears, has already begun.
Oh, wow. Okay, we are on the final lap, so we're not going to get one more. It might be Morris's fault for setting such a fast lap time. Fastest lap, 59.98 now. Davison, under a lot of pressure from Broad. He's holding on to this last place on the podium. Can he do it? That's the question that we've got to ask here. And I do note as well, we've got 11 cars who have not finished this race. So it has been a chaotic Formula Open here.
Eskandari's in the wall! Eskandari's found the wall at turn 11! Oh, does he have too much damage? No, he's somehow able to maintain the pace. That was a big heart attack moment for our race leader. He built up enough of a gap that he has been able to power out. And 5 seconds left on the timer. 4, 3, 2, white flag. We still have a lap to go.
Wow, we go again. And we go for the final time. Eskandari, that nearly cost him the race. We'll see if we can, well, we won't be able to bring that up on a replay because we know there's going to be lots going on, but he's had these moments before in the past where he's nearly thrown it all away. And so he needs to keep the focus in for the next 45 seconds of this race. Tom Donahoe now up in P4.
Davison's crashed. Danny Davison has gone off, well, not really off, into the wall, out of turn 2. There was a big coming together there somewhere. We'll have to wait until post-race to get the replay of that. Laps around this place go so quickly that Sebastian Eskandari is almost in the final sector now. And the question is, will he be able to hold on to this lead with the damage he gained on the previous lap? Ryan Bell is making up time on him, hand over fist, as Tom Donoghue has made his way up into P4, but up the front, Sebastian Eskandari is going to take victory in the FDL Formula Open IndyCar at St. Petersburg. What an incredible race that was.
Oh, we had action up and down the field, and it's not over in this mid-pack here. Can Daniel Yeaman do anything about his situation? No, he can't. He comes across the line very, very close to the others, but not close enough, unfortunately. It's going to be Godfrey in P10. And then we've got Costa Tech, Sarah Cullen, Monday, Scott Morris, and Millington coming around the last couple of corners in a few moments' time. And oh boy, we're going to have to collect ourselves. IR18s at St. Petersburg. Yes, please. Thank you very much.
Oh, wow. Fantastic stuff. There was no shortage of action in that race. We were on the edges of our seats the whole time. The newest circuit on iRacing, making its broadcast debut here on TrackSpotTV, and what a finish it was. John Monday and Michael Scott barely separated by anything there, the last 2 finishers on the lead lap. So, the results then. Sebastian Eskandari, he qualified on pole position and ultimately comes away in P1, but the numbers don't tell the full story. He had to really fight for that one. Ryan Bell and Tyson Broad will round out your podium, with Tom Donahue finishing in P4. Alex Stevens making up 14 places to finish 5th place. Daniel Ackland, Tristan McLaren, Dan Yeaman, Mark Hilly and Aidan Godfrey will round out your top 10. Lachlan Burke, the only other car other than Eskandari to finish where they started. Miguel Costa Texera, P12 ahead of Sam Cullen, with John Munday and Michael Scott rounding out your top 15 there. And the last 2 cars to finish on the lead lap, Danny Davison retiring on the final lap, but still classified a lap down. Ethan Morris also apparently had issues on the final lap too. He'll be classified a lap down, as well as Hayden Millington, Alex Zekas and Connor Nixon, 3 laps down each. It was 4 laps from the end for Martin Lipsky, things going wrong for him, and then it's a massive junkyard of Dallara IR18. Sebastian Prostimo involved in the incident with Mark Hilly on pit exit. Ollie Stevens, Cameron Dance, Charles Vasquez, Stephen Bull, all less than 20 laps from the end, retiring, and Jacob Fraser, Lachlan Capel, Jason Douglas, Scott Cooper, they were not able to make it to the finish at all. In fact, Cooper, Mackenzie Stewart and Fraser Clegg did not take to the start. Biggest gainer in the field, by the way, 16 spots gained for Aidan Godfrey to round out that top 10. Absolutely stellar.
Absolutely brilliant job. And yeah, I mean, we had so much action all the way around the grid. Really good that for Eskandari that he was able to hold on at the end. But what could have been for Morris? And he made up a few positions right there at the end, but it all went wrong in that turn 5, which was a problem area. Turn 4, a problem area. Turn 10, a problem area. But the real cat amongst the pigeons is that pit exit. I mean, it really did send a number of people into the shadow realm. Drivers can't see who's coming through turn 2 on the exit. People coming through turn 2 can't see who's coming out of the pits. So I think everyone's going to have to dial up an engineer next time we come to St. Petersburg.
Yes, if it ends up making any future appearances on the schedule, and with the upcoming Super Formula Light season following the official series schedule, I wouldn't be surprised if St. Petersburg makes an appearance. Well, Sebastian Eskandari has only just shown up in the interview waiting room, so I think we'll go in reverse podium order here. First driver we're going to talk to is Orbit Drop Bear Motorsports' Tyson Broad. My goodness, Tyson, that was that was a chaotic ride for us up here in the broadcast booth. Surely the same for you.
Yeah, definitely. So I qualified a lot better than I expected, to be honest. I was expected to be somewhere in the teens, but to qualify 5th was actually really good. And then, yeah, just sort of bided my time for the first stint, and then we had that first VSC. And then on the restart, the leader, I think, brake checked the field, and that caused a bit of carnage, and unfortunately got caught up on the curb on the exit of 2 and spun out. And but yeah, I was able to work my way back, large part due to the second VSC we had near the end.
Yes, St. Petersburg, a bit of a concrete canyon. What are your thoughts on this place? You're obviously one of many who have been watching it for many years in the real world, driving it for the first time in iRacing in the IR18. How did you find it?
Definitely a very, very challenging combo, but also a very enjoyable challenge. Definitely, the walls definitely make you pay attention, but yeah, it's a really good, fun circuit to drive in the cars I've driven so far.
Well, a podium finish for you, Tyson, and you are the sole representative of Orbit Drop Bear to be on at the podium here with your other team cars having various issues throughout the race. So I'll leave it up to you to thank who needs to be thanked so we can let you go and celebrate your podium.
Yeah, just all the boys that now, as of today, Logitech G ODBM. Yeah, title sponsor for us, so got to give them a massive shout out, having joined today, as well as our other partners in Revolution Race Gear and iLiveries. And yeah, obviously the other drivers. Shane Mark had that incident under the last VSC, otherwise he probably would have been here instead of me. And then yeah, just FDL for putting on this event. Didn't really plan on racing until last night, and yeah, I was happy to walk away with a P3 finish, and yeah, just you guys for putting on the commentary and broadcast.
Simply magnificent performance from Tyson Broad there. He'll get third in the FDL Formula Open. Finishing second to Sebastian Eskandari was Ryan Bell. And I'm sure, despite the blind corners around this place, Ryan, you would have been aware that Sebastian ran deep at the tight left-hander onto Dan Weldon Way and gained damage. That final lap must have been quite tense as you were trying to make up the gap.
Yeah, I was aware that I saw him go a bit deep, and I thought, wow, does he have damage? So I just started pushing a bit harder, but managed to hold on. If there was a couple more laps, I might have been able to get an opportunity to make a move, but yeah.
Just give us some insight into the driving style required for these cars with the hybrid system that they now have. You know, I did see in the Discord some discussion about how best to use the kinetic energy system. Obviously, this is one of those tracks that has plenty of bumps, so you've got to really deal with all of that extra power over a very low grip surface.
Yeah, you got to watch out. There's some dodgy spots where you can easily lose the car, especially when your tires are cold as well. So it's all about just picking your moment, I guess, and making sure you don't crash.
Well, not crash is what you did, Ryan, and second place for you in the end. If there was another lap extra, potentially a win on the horizon there, but still, I think you can be well proud of that result for P2. Is there anyone you want to shout out before we let you go?
Oh, let's shout out the whole Proline Esports team, and yeah, that's it.
Ryan Bell with second place in the end here, and another fantastic performance. The driver at the very front, though, pole position to the win, but it was far more complicated than that for Sebastian Eskandari, who joins us now. A little bit of a heart attack moment on the penultimate lap there, Seb, with the run into, I believe it's turn 11. That wall really comes up quick, doesn't it?
Yeah, hi guys, thanks for having me on tonight. Yeah, it was a pretty interesting race, as I'm sure you guys saw. It was much harder than the SFLs around any of the tracks we do in that. But yeah, I thought it was pretty interesting. You just sort of have to manage the battery and the tires really well. And then obviously having the two compounds, you had to switch between them. And I don't think I made the right decision initially. It was just the prime was too slow, and they were just like driving on ice, and I don't really think that was ideal at the start, especially when you have such a high competition, like such high standard of drivers in the field. But yeah, anyway. And then, yeah, the second last lap into that corner, I just locked up the inside, but managed to go in sideways and only get a little bit of damage. So that was pretty interesting, but I guess learn for next time.
Also interesting was the pit exit, the incident that Mark Hilly had right in front of you. That must have been a terrifying experience.
Not really. It was sort of just, you have to keep an eye out on what's coming, and I don't really think Mark did that because we came out of the pit side by side, and I think I was ahead, maybe just, but then I think he sort of just got caught up in just trying to keep flooring it and get ahead, and he just didn't see the oncoming car, and they sort of collided. But yeah, it doesn't, like, it's sort of just, it is what it is. You saw it in everything. It was happening in practices, and I'm sure it happened more times in the race than just that one time. So it's sort of, well, we got a free position from that, but it would have been good to actually race Mark because it was very quick, and I think it would have been cool.
Yeah, I echo that sentiment. The battle that you guys are having up to that point was stellar. Some fantastic driving from the both of you in this one. But the win is yours, Sebastian. Anyone you want to shout out for it before we let you go?
Mum and Dad for letting me race tonight. I know this isn't really relevant, but Nigel Barclay for the team in New Zealand in Formula Fords that have helped me win the few races I've won. And then just Vaughan, Kane, Ben, all the guys in the team, just helping me prepare for everything.
Sebastian Eskandari for Team Max Boost there. We'll certainly be talking to you again soon. Well,
yeah, good to talk to you guys. See you soon.
Absolutely. Sebastian Eskandari, race winner in the FDL Formula Open here at St. Petersburg. George, I think we really need to catch our breath after that one.
Yeah, I think we had 15 minutes of racing, and I think I've got about 15 minutes of recovery ahead of myself, but I'm going to be awake for a while thinking about everything that's happened in this Formula Open. St. Petersburg, I'm hoping we see this on the calendar throughout all racing around the world, because this track creates some brilliant opportunities for overtaking. We've seen that tonight, and these IR18s, with that hybrid system and the format that we had tonight, big shout out to FDL and Tom Donahoe for that, with the 2 mandatory pit stops, essentially mandatory pit stops, meant that we had a real mix of strategy. Interesting to hear Sebastian Eskandari bemoaning his choice at the start is exactly what we thought, because he was on pole with Mark Hilly, and the 2 guys behind him chose that alternative tyre, and before the end of the first lap, which is only a minute long, they were overtaken, and it was all going in the wrong direction. That, of course, until Morris had the problem at turn 5 towards the end. So anything can happen in these cars and this kind of track. That's why I absolutely love the Formula Open series that we've got, or the special event, I should say. What we've seen tonight has been absolutely spectacular, and I hope everyone's enjoyed it.
Yeah, I certainly hope the same as well. If you've caught us live, thank you very much for watching. If you've caught us on the replay, thank you very much for watching too. Really appreciate you coming on board and seeing the fantastic racing that FDL has to offer. The next Super Formula Light season will be coming up soon, so hopefully we'll be able to bring you that, and we'll obviously be getting ready for some more solid competition between some of the best open wheel sim races in Australia and New Zealand. Here on TrackSpotTV, I'm Reese Gardner, George Cook alongside, and handling production behind the scenes. FDL Formula Open going to Sebastian Eskandari, no stranger to winning, but the next time the Formula Open comes around, who's going to take the top step? I guess we'll have to find out. See you next time.